guys, Katy Huller here with Kids Can Read and Write. Today I want to help your kids know how to read words with the C, the K, and the CK trick. It can get pretty confusing because those are three different ways to say K, but they're used for different reasons. And it's really important that your kids understand what these letters are telling you when they appear in a word. And not just for reading, but for spelling too. And I'll do a different video about that. In fact, I think there already is one if you want to look for it. But let's talk about reading with it today because a lot of kids get confused by this trick and it's important for you to understand it to help them figure out the code when they're looking at words. So let me break it down for you. So basically, you want to think about C as the short K sound. See how K is tall and C is short, right? C is half as tall as K. C is the short K and it comes after short vowel sounds, okay? We use C after short vowel sounds. What are short vowel sounds? Well, remember, A, E, I, O, and U are the vowels, and the short sounds are when they don't say their names. When they say a, I, or So if you see a C after a vowel, 9 times out of 10, it's going to make it short sound, okay? That's the way it should be. Now, there are always some kind of exceptions somewhere. So, might not be 100%, but it's going to be most of the time. We use the C after short vowel sounds. We also use the CK after short vowel sounds. So that's where spelling gets tricky because it's like, well, do I use CK or do I use the C after the short vowel? Well, the rule is if you hear K after a short vowel, you're definitely going to put the C. If it's a one-syllable word or in the root word or in the first syllable, then typically you'll have that CK, okay? So C is going to go after a short vowel no matter what. 9 times out of 10, there are exceptions, but not many. And then CK comes after the short vowel in a one-syllable word, or if the root word was a one-syllable word, or a lot of times in the first syllable of a word. So that's that. All right, we'll talk about it more here. And then K is used after just everything else, okay? K is the tall guy. I always tell kids, he's the bully. You see that tall line? He'll be like, say your name, vowel, if he's after a single vowel, okay? He bosses vowels around. Now, he cannot boss tricks and he cannot jump over letters to boss the vowels. He only can boss vowels if he touches them. So if you look at this word, see how that K is right after that single vowel, meaning one? That's when he's gonna boss it. Say your name, vowel, or I'll punch you. So when we read this, we're going to blend these two together. Remember, R is not Do not teach your kids R says Keep it short. Br. See how I blend those together? You don't have to just know br when you see BR. And you certainly don't want to say burr. Okay, a lot of teachers are teaching burr. It is not burr. That would be ER, IR, or UR for the sound. We want br. Keep it tight, keep it short, okay? Then we're gonna make him say his name. So we have oak. Remember, we wanna glue the vowel onto the next sound. So don't stop. Oak, okay? Oak. Hear how that drags right in? Oak. Now we're gonna do the next part. And see how I'm gluing that on. So we go broke and broken. And if your kids are having trouble hearing that, you can go broken. It just depends how you've been teaching them. So you can keep it short, broken, broken. Some kids are good at doing that. Some kids need to just read this part first, broke, and broken. You'll have to play with it and see how your child responds and then be consistent. And as they get better, you can go through it faster. Broken, broken, right? Now, let's look at this one. Notice, here's our vowel that we're going to be gluing onto that ka sound. What is this C telling us? Do you remember? C is the short letter, so remind your child this will make the short sound. Okay, so if we're breaking this up, we have a vowel here we're going to glue on. So this would be where we would break this word. Especially if your child is struggling with dyslexia, auditory issues, visual processing issues, memory issues. It's important to break up words, especially when they're learning to read them for the first time. Okay, so we want to just break this up. We're going to go pa, la, pla. See how I blend them together? Again, this is another beginning blend. Pla, ass, plas. Okay, now I do this part. Ick, tick. So when I put it together, I want to remind my child, what does this part say? If they've forgotten, which if they have memory issues, they will have forgotten it already. Because once they do this, they forget this, okay? If they have memory issues, just tell them, that's okay, read it again. Try it again. Plas, plas, tick, tick, plastic. Okay, now if your child can't remember this part when they come back, they might have to go pa, la, pla again. That's okay. Don't worry if it's slow in the beginning. Some kids really need time struggling with the letters to get it so that they can be faster. Don't try to rush that and just make them remember it. Give them the chance. If they're anxious, if they're, starting to shut down because they can't remember it and the big words make them feel a little nervous, just tell them, don't worry, all you need to read is that first, and let them go through it. Pa, la, pla, ass, plas, and then go through this. Ta, ick, tick. Do you remember this? If not, do it again. Plas. Now do this. Tick, plastic. And remind them to look at the letters as they put it back together. Because some kids, they stop looking, they try to just remember, and they totally come out with crazy answers. If your child's doing that, slow them back down to go through so that they're saying what's here and not just something echoing in their brain that they kind of remembered. So don't worry, if they're doing that, just draw their attention back to the letters and stick them together. All right, let's talk about this one. Why do we have CK here? Do you remember? Well, remember, we always use the C after a short vowel sound. So we know this should be short. We use C pushing that bully K away when it's in the first syllable or if it's a one-syllable word, okay? This happens to be in the first syllable. So we're gonna read it. Jack, Jack. Okay, we can break it there because we just went one past the vowel. If your child's really good at blending, keep going. Et. Okay, so we have Jack, Jack, et. Put it together. Jack, et, jacket. A jacket, like you put on a little jacket to stay warm. Okay, jacket. All right, what about this one? Tell me, what do you remember? Why are we using a K there? We're not going to make this one say its name because it's a two vowels trick. EA either says E or it says E. Usually it says E, so we're gonna start with that. If that doesn't sound right, we can try it the E way, but start with the two vowels way. K comes after any trick or any consonant. This is a trick. This cannot boss that second vowel in a two vowels trick. So you're not going to boss the A even though the K is there. He cannot boss tricks. So he's there because K is used after any trick or any consonant. Because remember, the only time we're going to use C or CK is after the short vowel, or C is used usually at the beginning of words and syllables. So sometimes you'll see a C after an open syllable where the vowel was saying its name, and that's because it's starting the next syllable. So that can be a little confusing. That's for the advanced learners. I'll just throw that in there. But let's see what this one says. So if we read this, we're going to glue those vowel combos onto that next sound. So we're going to break it there. So we get another beginning blend, sn, sn, right? You're just blending. A blend is just two sounds you still hear when they're together, okay? Sn, sn, right? Some people go sna, sna. It doesn't really matter. Don't get all upset about the sound. The important thing is your kids remember how to stick them together. Sn, sn, or sna, sna. Either way works. It's not a problem. Don't get so stuck in there. Can only be one way. All right, now we're going to make this one say its name because it's a two vowels combo. Fits in there. So we have sneak, sneak. See how that's done? Sneak. And then what does ER say? Do you know that trick? So again, just because your kids know when to use C and when to use K doesn't mean they could read this word. They need to know this trick. They need to know this trick, and they need to know how to add an S at the end, which throws a lot of kids off. So they also need to know how to blend two letters together. So remember, reading is challenging for new readers because there are so many things going on that they might or might not remember at any given time. So you need to be able to help remind them. Sneakers, and let your kids know when that S is at the end, that means we have more than one of something, okay? Or it's happening now, but usually it's more than one. So sneakers, sneakers. We have two sneakers in a pair. They're called sneakers, like tennis shoes, running shoes. All right, what about this one? Why do we have the K here? What does that tell us about the word? Remember, he's the tall bully. Say your name, vowel. We don't have two vowels. We don't have a different trick, so he can boss that. Now, when it's at the end, when you hear a cut at the end and he's bossing the vowel, we also need that sleepy E. They're doing it together. Let your kids know that or they'll start writing the word like that, okay? So we want to blend these two together. Remember, again, R does not say So when you do this, you want your ba, bra, bra. See how they're together? Bra, bra. And you can shorten it, bra, bra. But a lot of kids really need to hear it, bra. Okay? So it's not going to matter. We're just going to do bra. Now, say his name. What's his name? What letter is it? A. So that's what we'll say. So we go bra, ache. And then we never say anything for an E at the end of a word. It's just sleeping, so we're not going to say anything. So when we read that, we get break, break. Now, this kind of break is like you put your foot on the brake to stop a car or a bicycle or whatever you're riding on, the brake, okay? It's not the break like you break something in half. That's a different spelling. That's a two vowels word. So keep that in mind. Now, if you want to see how that's spelled real fast, I'll do it. It's spelled like Briac, which is crazy. Because usually EA says E or but in break, it's saying A. So there's a crazy word for you. But remember, you could break in between the two vowels. That's that kind of break, okay? So that's that. All right, so let's just look at these last few words and see if you can figure them out. So they're giving us big hints. What's this one telling us? Say your name, vowel, and he's helping him. So we'd read it. Jake, Jake. What's this one telling us? Short guy, short vowel sound. Jack, Jack. So that's how you can tell the difference between Jake and Jack. Okay, what about this one? What's this telling us? Short guy, short sound. Rick, Rick. What about this one? Tall guy, tall sound. Long guy, long sound, right? Bully. Say your name, vowel, and that E's helping him out. Ike, Mike. So it's really helpful to know what that K is telling us, what that C is telling us, what that CK is telling us, especially if you're a brand new reader, just trying to figure out all these crazy words. So make sure your kids understand what a C does, what a K does, and what a CK does. And then help them when they're spelling words to pay attention to what comes right before that K sound so they'll know which one to put when they're writing too. So if you hear a short vowel before a K, you know the C comes after it. You might need CK if it's a one-syllable word, or the root word was one syllable, or it's in the first syllable. But if you hear the vowel saying its name before it, go with the big bully K1. Or if the K is coming after any trick or any consonant, generally it will be K unless we're starting a new syllable, and then it's going to be C. And there's one other spelling rule. If you hear the K, T blend, that's CT. Again, I'll go into more depth with spelling on the spelling video, but I just wanted to go over this reading some kind of bigger words. You know, they're not huge, but for kids, they feel really big when they're first starting out. And that way your child can start reading those bigger words with the C, the K, or the CK. So don't forget to help them glue the letters together, work on those beginning blends, and also break words up so they can just read one part at a time. And hey guys, if you need more help teaching your kids to read and write, if you need a very systematic, explicit approach so that they can read anything, become a black belt reader, look for my black belt reading program, because in it I've designed it to go through all the most important tricks they really need to know to get reading. And I have words in isolation, and I have sentences, and I have fill in the blank sentences to check for comprehension, and I have word banks where you have to fill in the words. I have writing exercises, words to spell, sentences to spell that you can dictate. I have some games in there. I have stories to read with questions. And it's all built around a very easy to understand model so that your child learns to read and write without feeling just lost the whole time. So if you're dealing with a child who's really struggling to learn to read and write, let me know. Go to kidscanreadandwrite.com or kidscanonlineacademy.com and look for the Black Belt Reading Program. And if you need bigger words, maybe you have a second grader, a third grader, fourth grader, fifth grader, you need bigger words to teach them to read and write, make sure you contact me, because I have programs that I use for my older kids that aren't officially on the market at the time I'm making this video. Maybe they will be by the time you see it, I don't know. But if you don't see one for older kids, get in touch with me. Let's talk and figure out what level your child needs to be successful. So thanks so much for joining me, guys. I hope this helps you. Don't forget to go over vocabulary with your kids too. Make sure they know, like broken. Oh, my pencil is broken, like it broke. Or plastic. Make sure they know what plastic is. Jacket, sneakers, break. Like, make sure you're explaining all these words or asking your child, hey, what does that mean after they read it, to make sure they understand what they're even saying. Because what I've seen with some kids is they'll sound perfect when they say the word, but they don't know what they're saying, or they're thinking of a different meaning. Just check it out. When you're working with your child on reading, make sure you're asking, what did that mean? How could you use that in a sentence? Like, just make sure they can use it properly. So, thanks again for joining me, guys. Like, share, leave a comment. I love hearing from you. And thanks so much for joining me. I hope you'll join me again next time. See you soon.